Welcome back to Nicool's Notions. We are continuing on with the 501 must-see movies, and this week I watched Slumdog Millionaire. Now, this, not only is it in the 501 must-see movies, but is one of the movies that I personally would say is definitely a must-see if you haven't seen it. It is so interesting. It is so well written. It actually was nominated for 10 Oscars, and none of them were for acting. They were all like the story, the cinematography. I don't know what 10 they were. Another fun fact about this movie is that it and Schindler's List, which is also in this book, we'll get to that later, are the only two movies that have ever swept the Oscars and Golden Globes in the categories of Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Screenplay. So it is not an understatement. It is not an understatement to say that this is a must-see movie. Let me get into the story. A little disclaimer before I get into the movie is that it does have a lot of subtitles. So there is some English, there are a lot of subtitles. It doesn't take away from the movie, it's just a warning in case you haven't seen it, just so you expect it. If you remember from my previous video about The Graduate was a movie that was in the drama section, but it kind of was a love story, and I thought it was miscategorized. And this Slumdog Millionaire is the opposite. It's in the romance category, but I think it should have been in the drama category, but I don't know how they made the categories. So it is about a love, it is a love story, but there's so little of the actual love story in the movie that it's more of a drama. Although I would argue that this love story is way better than the one in The Graduate. So what it is Jamal grew up in the slums, mostly an orphan for his life with his brother, and this other girl, Lakita, that he met when he was very young, was also orphaned in the same incident. And the premise is he's on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, but in India. And he has all these questions, and no one believes that he could possibly know the answers to the questions. He gets arrested. The police are interrogating him in a really severe way. And they're asking him, like, how do you know the answers to these questions? So he goes through the questions one by one and explains how he knows the answers. And there's a story from his life as he grows up, throughout his life, a specific story that gave him the answer to all the questions. And his end goal through all the stories is he's trying to protect Lakita, get back to Lakita. I don't want to get into too much of what happens, but he wants to be with her, loves her, thinks they're meant to be together, but things keep pulling them apart for whatever reason. And it's a beautiful story. It's a beautiful, like, all the interesting things happen, the way that it's weaved together, the way that they have the questions. It's an amazing movie. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. So if you want to continue on this journey of the 501 must-see movies, subscribe to my channel, like this video, and we will see you next week for another movie. It was nominated for 10 Oscars and none of them were for acting. Makes it sound like there's not good acting in this movie, but that's not the case. I don't know why they weren't nominated, but it is good acting and is a good story. They just didn't happen to be nominated for Oscars.